And thanks for staying with us. 4 lecturers of the Polytechnic in the Upper West region have been invited by police after a complaint against them was lodged by the rector of the Polytechnic, and they've been granted police enquiry bail. The rector of the Polytechnic, Professor Emmanuel Owusu, has accused them of preventing him from entering the institution. This comes after lecturers claimed the rector had bypassed procurement procedures to purchase a luxury Mercedes-Benz worth $500,000 cedis. You will recall earlier this week, some lecturers blockaded the entrance of the Polytechnic, forcing the rector to flee with his luxury vehicle. Watch. Well, Professor Owusu had justified the purchase of the vehicle when he spoke to Joy News earlier.
I think I do not accept that it's fraudulent. I've been a professor for so many years, at least 8 years. And if you say that I'll acquire something fraudulent, as if, excuse me to say, I do not have so much enough to be able to get myself a car. Those who know me know the kind of cars I've used. And so when you say fraudulent, it's quite interesting.
So when they allege...
I'm coming, please. I'm a person who, I've been trained well. And I've never taken anybody's money anywhere. So when you say fraudulent, it's not true. They are thinking that the car is just expensive. That's their problem. And in my conditions of service, they never stressed that the car should be 500 or 800 or 200,000 or 150,000 that you buy. They say any car of your choice. There was no threshold of how much the car should cost. And so if there's any problem in regard to buying that car at that high price, it is the problem of the condition of service as per written. And so that is something they should look at. And two, the idea of saying that, what do you call it, I did not follow the procurement process. Look, they can bring people from the, from Public Accounts Committee to come and investigate me for that. And then they will see every paper that we use. We follow the procurement process. When I arrived in the school last year, 1st February 2017, it was the finance officer, the acting finance officer, who brought me the paper document saying that that budget plan for the 2017 was what? Approved by the IMC, that's the Interim Management Committee. And that it is time for them to seek permission from the NCTE and then again from the net fund to approve of it for us to begin spending. So on vehicles, let me tell you, we purchased 3 vehicles, that is 3 pickups from Toyota, and then also the Mercedes-Benz. The 3 vehicles from Toyota, the NCT Executive Secretary has approved of it for it to be paid off. But the Mercedes-Benz, is yet to approve of it. The question is why?
Because they say that Mercedes-Benz cost just too much.
It cost too much, but it is not my problem. It is the problem of the conditions of service.
But they said the conditions didn't specify which car you can buy.
No, the conditions of service also did not specify how much.
So you chose that you wanted a Mercedes-Benz?
Not I chose that I wanted a Mercedes-Benz. We were looking at 3 cars, Mercedes-Benz, Nissan, and Toyota.
And you chose...
the specifications that had been advertised, it fitted the Mercedes-Benz, those who bid for it.
Let's get on the line and speak to our correspondent, Rafiq Salam, for more on this. Rafiq, we understand 3 other lecturers also accompanied the 4 to the police station. Were they also given police enquiry bail?
They were not arrested by the police. What actually happened was that the 4 were invited by the police. They were led by the chairman of the Coalition of Labour Unions at the Polytechnic, Ahmed Mubashir Bamia, and then he was the one that the suspended rector alleged that he was a mastermind of the attack, and then he's accusing him of trying to link him or also assault or trying to take his life. And so when they went to the police station, reported the matter, met the police. The police chief inspector Adongo met both parties, and both sides gave their side of the story. And after that, the 4 lecturers were made to write their statement. And what actually happened was that when they were writing the statement, it was there that the rector said that there was a lady that I heard his voice on the tape, and the name happens to be one Tamima. And he requested that they should add her to the list because she was part of the people who attacked him. And then after some few minutes, he added another person who was also around, and then he moved to the 3rd person. And so the police said, okay, they should not write their statement, but they should come back on Monday to write their statement. And so they are expected to be at the police station on Monday at 10 o'clock.
And Rafiq, what have you been able to glean from what they may have said in their defense for attempting to refuse the rector access to the Polytechnic?
They are saying that for them, they didn't do anything untoward. What they, according to Ahmed Mubad, says that the man was always driving at excruciating speed anytime he gets to the campus. And then what he usually also do is that sometimes if he's not at top speed, he'll be moving slowly with the car and then open the loudspeakers, the sound system of the car, and then to destroy the peace of the school. And so they are thinking that it's not the best for the rector or the suspended rector to behave that way, and that was why they put on those blockades. I
see. And finally, what effect is this brouhaha having on academic work at the Polytechnic, if any at all?
Things will not be all that normal. Academic activities is going on well because it's a matter of the rector on one side and also the lecturers at the other side. And so academic activity at school is going on, but it's not at full swing as it's supposed to be. But today there was a council meeting today. I'm told that they deliberated on the matter, but the members of the governing council are tight-lipped as to what must have happened. But what I tried to know whether the rector, the suspended rector, was part of the meeting. I was told that he was not around. I checked his house, and I'm told that he has left town, not with a controversial Mercedes-Benz, but with his own Mitsubishi pickup.
All right, many thanks, Rafiq Salam, with those details and the latest on this ongoing brouhaha. And the latest is that 4 lecturers have been arrested by the police. They've been given police inquiry bail. Now, the lawyer for former MASLOC boss Sedinam Tamaklo Ationu has described as defamatory the contents of an audit report citing his client for fraud. Victor Adawudu said in a statement that there is no truth whatsoever in the purported publication being published in the media. He spoke earlier on the Midday News.
Let IOCO do its investigation, put us before court. We will ask for the investigative report. We will ask for everything. When we ask for, we would also put a defense towards that. We are not gagging the media. What they have seen, they are the watchdog of society. They can also report, but we are saying that cross-check the facts, make sure that what is being done is acceptable, not to injure or ridicule her hard-won reputation. In as much as you need to give information, you need to protect the individual. That we do not have a trial in the media where we'll be convicted and sentenced even before we are put before the court of law. If there's going to be any investment at MASLOC, it is the board that takes a decision. So the chief executive officer has no power to take such an investment decision. It is the board that will take the decision. And I believe that it will reflect in the board minutes of MASLOC. My client has been a public servant. My client did her work with integrity, and she's left office. So the official record will be with the institution. MASLOC had always been doing investment, and those decisions are taken by the board. So every institution, they do investment. But my client says he has not taken any investment. Now, I believe that if she has a bank account, she's paid salary. And MASLOC pays her salary. That is why you do your investigation and put the investigation, and we will have reasons to explain what was the purpose of those accounts. There is always an official account. Every institution has its own account. Employees who work for the institution also would definitely have accounts with the institution, so that once they are being paid their salary, it goes into their private account. So you cannot always say it is going to be only an account for the institution where the employees' account will not be made available to the account office for their salaries to be paid into. So you definitely see money moving from the accounts of the institution to the accounts of the private individual.
You're welcome back. Now, the Ghana Education Service has directed its regional, metropolitan and general managers of education units nationwide to ensure that staff of the institution who are due for retirement but have refused to exit vacate their post immediately. The GES says these officers were asked to exit as far back as June 5th, 2017, but they have failed to respond to the order. The latest directive was issued in an internal memo signed by its Director General, Professor Kwesi Opoku-Amankwa. Here are details of the memo cited by Joy News, and it reads, RE compulsory retirement of Ghana Education Service staff. It says the attention of management has been drawn to the fact that some officers who are supposed to have proceeded on compulsory retirement are still at post, despite the earlier directives for them to do so, per a letter dated the 5th of June 2017, and it's indicated that a copy is attached for ease of reference. It says management wishes to remind all regional, metropolitan, district and general managers of educational units to ensure strict compliance of the following. 1. That officers who have submitted their applications on the correction of date of birth but are due for retirement should leave their position while waiting for the outcome of the decision of management. 2. That all officers who have retired and are still at post should, in their own interest, hand over and proceed on compulsory retirement immediately. All heads of second cycle and basic schools are also expected to take note and comply accordingly, and is signed by the GES Director, Professor Kwesi Opoku-Amankwa there. So, Reverend Abraham Osei Donko is General Secretary of the Conference of Heads of Assisted Secondary Schools, CHAS. He joins us on the line. Help us to understand this, Reverend. Good evening to you. Is it the case that these staff who are due for retirement are refusing to vacate their posts, or there's no real plan for replacements, hence their decision to stay on until, their replacements arrive?
Yeah, thank you very much, and good evening to all your listeners. I think I don't see this to be a big deal. Actually, it is the practice of the service that beginning of the year they come up with a list of all those who are due for retirement. They send the list to the regional directorates and the district directors so that they can write to all personnel that are involved in their retirement. So I think members have been informed, but I think in the course of the period, there were some discrepancies. Some people had discrepancies with their dates of birth, and letters were served to those concerned. Some have written to justify why they are not due for retirement. Others are to correct the anomaly that is being created. And I believe a reminder is in order to remind members that the letters still hold, and therefore what should they do? They are to proceed and then wait for a response as management looks for it. So I believe that it is not anything that is any hooly-bally about it.
All right, Reverend, it's interesting that you say that this is a reminder. I mean, according to the GES, this directive for retired staff was given as far back as June last year. How come they are still at post?
No, maybe, I'm not too sure, but I think maybe those who are post might be those who might have the discrepancy that I'm talking about their date of birth. Maybe the service might have said you are due for retirement in, let's say, March 20th. But maybe according to his date of birth and the records that he has, it might be about September, and they have submitted the letters. So now that this letter has come, I believe that those concerned will know that once you have submitted the letter and your data has been due, you move on and then wait for management to respond. So that is why I say I think this is a reminder.
But the letter also indicates that, you know, those who have attained retirement age should step aside whilst these investigations into their dates of birth is going on. How is your association CHAS, going to help to ensure strict compliance of this latest order?
Once these letters have come, I think we would notify all members. We will facilitate. In fact, we are part of management. So we would also facilitate to inform members who, one way or the other, might not be sure of what the earlier letter and maybe what response that they have given to is. And so this clarifies the issue for everybody to be clear of what exactly to do.
Right. Okay, many thanks. And that was Reverend Donko. He's secretary of the Conference of Heads of Assisted Secondary Schools. Moving on, President Akufo-Addo is urging religious leaders in the country to allow their conduct reflect humility and integrity. According to him, recent developments among some members of the clergy is worrying. Addressing members of the General Assembly of the Assemblies of God, Ghana, President Akufo-Addo called on the clergy to lead by example and let their works and conduct reflect the teachings of Christ.
I think that at all times you have to be the beacon for the society about what is required to be a full human being, the humility, the sincerity, integrity, the example that you set as Christian leaders has to be the example that the rest of us who are less privileged follow. So to have that example compromised is something that is disturbing. And I believe that the reason why your church is so popular and it has so many significant citizens of this country patronizing it is that we all sense the sincerity and the integrity of your leadership and followership and of the devotion that you have brought to bear in disseminating the message of Christ. I can only encourage you to continue. It's in the interest of Ghana that we have men like you, chosen this very, very difficult path of being ministers of God, servants of a faith. It's not easy.
Well, the president also called for prayers and support of Ghanaians, assuring his government is on track to deliver on the promises made to the electorate.
Issues before our country, I'm doing my best to see what I can do to fulfill. First of all, the commitments that my party and I made to the people of Ghana. I think it's extremely important that I make a determined effort to fulfill those promises. Politicians, to some extent, are also not in a good place. There's a tendency to think that we say things in order to get the office. And when we get there, we turn our back on it. A good system of government cannot endure if that is the attitude of the leaders. So committing oneself to making sure that these promises and pledges that we made on our way here is for me my biggest and most important objective. And I want to be in a position to be able to say at the end of the 4 years, when the Ghanaian people have to comment on my stewardship, that I was faithful to them, that I kept my word. I didn't come to deceive them. And that is very important for me. I want you to help me keep my word. Yes, and then stay on the straight and narrow.
On his part, General Superintendent of Assemblies of God, Ghana, Reverend Dr. Paul Frimpong-Manso, said most Ghanaians are satisfied with the government's position.
Some of us, and for many of us, we are satisfied with the explanation, and we will keep praying for you that the Lord will help you, give you the patience and the wisdom to continue that way. There may be people come from different views, but so long as some of us here are concerned, we feel you delivered very well. And I want to commend you for that.
Thank you.
You're still watching Joy News Prime, but we're taking a short break. You're welcome back. Now, chiefs in Chiriponi in the northern region are warning of serious conflict in the area if they are forced to join the new northeast region to be created by government. They are unhappy with government's handling of the matter and interference of some politicians. Hashmin Mohammed sending the following report.
The chiefs at a press conference in Chiriponi stated they welcome government's move to partition the northern region. But the people of Chiriponi say they wish to remain with the Dagbong people and not the Mamprushis who have petitioned for a northeast region. Spokesperson for the regent of Chiriponi, Baba Seidu, read a statement on behalf of the chiefs.
On behalf of chiefs and people of the traditional area, petitioning your high office on the 2nd March 2018 against the inclusion of Chiriponi district as part of the northeastern region, Mambu, by His Majesty the Nairi. In that petition, signed by 27 of our chiefs, we made it unequivocally clear that in as much as we are not against the democratic right of the people of Mambu to petition the commission of a region for them, we are strongly against the inclusion of Chiriponi as part of the proposed northeast region.
The chiefs also say they petitioned the committee for the creation of new regions about their position, but they were turned down at the hearing stage.
A meeting, I am told, was organized by the Commission in Tamale on the 19th of March 2018 and 10th of this month without notification to me and my chiefs. The FEME signed the proposal for the creation of the Eastern Corridor region, but refused to sign the proposal for the Northeast region.
In a related development, the Dagbong Traditional Council says it has resolved not to cede Chiriponi or any of your lands to a new region.
We want to state it clearly and in no uncertain terms that we are not against the creation of the northeastern region, but to also state clearly that we are not in favor of the addition of Chiriponi district as part of the northeastern region of Mambu.
Now, 2 of his kinsmen were killed on August 4, 2006, and his family members were allegedly driven out of Akweda Echinim in the western region. Nana Jinti Amwako, the 10th, has been exiled for 13 years as attempts to get stakeholders to facilitate a peace agreement for his return has been unsuccessful. He says he wants to go back and rule his people, but he's been warned his return will spark another conflict. Maxwell Papa has been to his palace here in Accra and now reports.
Yes, this is Justice Timpuama, I've forgotten his name. Okay. But he's at the Secondary High Court. Okay. After you've been gazetted, you should go to the High Court to sign something they call oath of secrecy.
Voice of Nana Jinchi Amwako the 10th as he showed me a picture of him shaking hands with a judge at the Secondary High Court shortly after he signed documents giving legitimacy to the ascension of the Akweda Echinim stool.
After we sworn the oath of secrecy at the Secondary High Court, this is myself, my linguists, these are my elders, my uncle, this was my uncle. There were a lot, but we 4 decided to take this picture.
Now, he sits on a sofa with his ahinima or sandals resting on the skin of an animal. He narrates to me how 2 of his elders were killed on the 4th August 2006. He says dozens of the community people were subsequently driven out.
On that fateful day, there was a report that some people were trying to install a chief for Akwadai, a chief which was not of their choice. And that ceremony was being done at Agona Kwanta, the district capital. Apparently, these three, some of my elders, my uncles, found themselves in the ceremony. Okay, so before they could even reach Akwadai, the Akwadai people have got the message that this is what was going on at Agona Kwanta, that they were trying to bring a chief which was not of their choice. So they assembled the Asafo, you know Asafo, that is started beating war drums and so on. My uncles were innocent. They thought it was one of the normal, not knowing the plan to attack them. So immediately they go to the Akwadai town, they were attacked and murdered and killed. And then they took advantage of that and drove away all my people. They were saying we are troublesome. They say we are troublesome. They drove away all relations, and even our friends. They were all driven out since 2006. In about 11, 12 years now, I cannot go there. I as a chief cannot go, let alone my people.
So my letters have been written since 20 to the Peace Council. You have the Peace Council. You have this one going to the regional police commander. And,
Nana Genchi Amuakun the 10th takes me through a stack of letters he has written from 2006 when the incident happened. The letters are correspondences about the murder of 2 of his elders and his inability as a chief to go back to the town.
Now, I want to go back. I want to go back with my people. Call a forum between my people, my people, my Bushapeni and so on, my head of family and my elders, right? My elders, and then the chief and elders too of Akwadai. At a round table, then we'll sort out and then see if we can arrive at some amicable settlement. Then we can go back. I should be in my town.
The former vice president of the Western Regional House of Chiefs, Nana Kwesi Ajima, in the night says records available indicate Nana Genchi Amuakun the 10th is the legitimate chief for the area. But some disgruntled elders are the ones preventing him from carrying out his mandate.
As far as records are concerned, he's a recognized chief of the village. It is just that the elders at the community are refusing to accept him as their chief because they are complaining about the mode of selection and election instruments. And they were not consulted and they appealed and so that's the problem. That's the problem, and it can be done when the two parties have got to a table. I'm sure a compromise might be found. Might be found anyway.
You're still watching Joy News Prime. You're welcome back. Now, the controversial Ghana-US military cooperation agreement was topical at the BBC World Questions first recording program in Ghana. The program allows the public to question and debate politicians, leaders and opinion leaders face-to-face on local and international issues. It was chaired by the BBC's Jonathan Dimbleby. Joy News' Bernice Abubedu has more in the following report.
The entire debate was led with questions from the audience. The first one was on the controversial Ghana-US military deal and what the panelists believe its impact will be.
We're living in an increasingly dangerous neighborhood where the terrorist activity around us and on our borders in Cote d'Ivoire and in Burkina Faso, we've seen an increased military activity, terrorist activity. We may not be able to have the capability on our own to resist that, to have forward knowledge of or advanced intelligence about those activities. We do need international cooperation to fight transnational organized crime and terrorist activity.
Sorry,
and that's exactly what we're doing.
Right, Simons, what do you think?
I'm fascinated by these grandstanding politicians, as always, If you compare the quality of the agreements that we have with the U.S. since 1998 to those that other countries have with the U.S., ours is not of the requisite quality. And that's from 1988.
Okay.
So the political elite has to acknowledge that they've not done right by us as a starting point. As a starting point.
The partisan approach in discussing this issue is what is creating confusion. I'm confused, and I believe that most of you here are confused. And sometimes it's a very deliberate attempt by politicians to make sure we don't understand what is going on, and then they pass it through and everybody keeps quiet. What Ghanaians are asking for is the balance between security and national sovereignty.
Back to the audience for reactions.
Do the public of Ghana know the intelligence that our security agencies have received in the past from the U.S. to help us keep the peace that we enjoy today?
And the guy over there in the very Ghanaian shirt.
Yeah, exactly. Hello, my name is Dandas Wega. I want to ask, why does the U.S. want to build a military base in a shithole country?
Joyce Baumoktari responded to the last question about the U.S. president's vulgar description of Africa.
Unfortunate comments, uncharacteristic of any American president that we've ever actually encountered. But of course, this is a totally different administration. It actually brings into question, really, why we still want to put aside our national interests, our national sovereignty, and subject ourselves regularly to this sort of comments by a leader of a country that we consider as an ally.
Forgive me, you've sort of changed your tune, haven't you? There you were in government, quite happy to surrender your sovereignty, and now you're starting to say, oh no, we're not going to do that.
Well, on this point, Jonathan, I think I'll disagree. I do think that we do have existing agreements that have been here in the past. In terms of military cooperation, we have always indeed had military cooperation, not just with the US, but several other countries. I believe that this particular agreement, as it describes itself in its preamble, is an enhanced agreement. It does contain other portions that are separately different from what we had before.
After this subject, the debate focused on other matters, including the future of LGBTQ in Ghana, Ghana Beyond Aid, and gender. What did the audience who led the debate think about the program?
My best responses were to that of the LGBTQ. I think the overwhelming majority view must stand. Where I wasn't satisfied with the issues around sanitation and Ghana Beyond Aid.
There were a few views that the audience weren't in support of, but I think generally it was good.
BBC World Questions has been to a few other countries, so why Ghana and why now? Producer Charlie Taylor explains.
Ghana is at a really interesting stage. The government, still relatively new, has made some grand claims and grand ambitions. Move Ghana beyond aid, to put a factory in every district of the country. It's a good time to critique what's going on. What we hope to achieve is to demonstrate to a world audience the kind of issues, the kind of place in development, the kind of things that energize Ghanaians, but at the same time show what Ghanaians think about world issues.
It's been an engaging session here at the auditorium of the British Council, where the first Accra edition of BBC World Questions was held. You've just heard from some of the participants, and also you just caught a glimpse of that debate. Well, the full edition airs on the BBC World Service on Saturday at 1100 hours GMT and on Sunday at 1800 hours GMT. Do make it 8. I'm Benes Abubedu, reporting for Joy News.
Now, leader of the Great Consolidated Popular Party, Dr. Henry Herbert Latte, has pledged his support for the controversial Ghana-US Defense Cooperation Agreement. He's one of the few opposition party personalities who is rooting for the deal, and he's urging protesting opposition members not to condemn the deal, as their action is rather propagating trouble when there's none. He's been speaking to Joy News' Charity Bartels on the sidelines of a news conference the party organized Friday.
If America is coming to help us with all these weapons and support, and we want to say we're losing our sovereignty, it's ridiculous. 50 nations have signed similar contracts with the US, including Germany, Great Britain, Japan, South Korea, even in Africa there's Kenya. Have they lost their sovereignty? We are trying to fight terrorism, and it's in our interest to get the support that we need. All our borders are porous. Now, is Nigeria part of, do they have a contract with America? Does Burkina Faso have it? Does Mali have it? Yet the people, terrorists went there. So what's this ridiculous assumption? We need a powerful neighbor and a powerful friend, and America was one of them.
So then, if I'm getting you right, then you're trying to say that those against this particular agreement are trying to only score political points for themselves.
Absolutely, and it's disgraceful. Ghana first. Our sovereignty is first. Not who wins the power at all costs. Ghanaians want peace. They want to walk about the country and feel good, not knowing that when there are terrorists, we panic and we have no weapons to fight it. That's what Ghanaians want. But you don't turn it around and try and say that instead of getting that support to do it, we are rather creating a situation where terrorists come. It's they rather who are creating a situation where the terrorists will know that we have this agreement with America. They are rather the people who are creating the problems. Okay. And they should shut up.
Well, meanwhile, as the special prosecutor prepares to start official work, Dr. Lartey has urged Mr. Martin Amidu to, as a matter of urgency, investigate the Rawlinses over some acquisitions made in the past. Dr. Lartey says Mr. and Mrs. Rawlings have enjoyed clemency for too long and must answer to the law.
Serious urgency is number one. The number one citizen at one point who overthrew a democratically elected government for corruption and a military government for corruption. And we find that you have those tenants with you as well. He should be, they should investigate him. Even Lula da Silva of Brazil is in jail. Other countries are doing it. Zuma is in trouble now. He should not think posterity will judge him. We should set the record straight. We have a democracy, a fantastic democracy. And if we don't tackle corruption, the democracy will not work. Shraj failed in their duty to ask me, when I've asked questions, to come and give further and better particulars. I'm asking questions, and you ask me to bring further and better. What nonsense is that? They were scared of J.J. Rawlings. So they had to find a way to hush things up. Fortunately, the current president had brought a special prosecutor and the Kaiser. You know what Kaiser means? A king. Kaiser Mudu would do the job and prove to Ghanaians that he's straight as he said during the vetting.
Thank you.
So news just in, President Akufo-Addo has appointed chief executives and deputy chief executives for the 3 development authorities. That is contained in a statement from the presidency signed by the Director of Communications, Eugene Ahin, and we do have a copy of that statement. It reads, the President of the Republic, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, has appointed in accordance with applicable laws the following persons to act as Chief Executive Officers and Deputy Chief Executive Officers of the Coastal, Middle Belt and Northern Development Authorities. They are, for the Coastal Development Authority, Samuel Atamensa, position Chief Executive Officer, and his professional background, he's an IT professional. Jerry Ahmed Shaib, he's Deputy Chief Executive Officer, and he is a lawyer. Bob Charles Agbonto, he's Deputy Chief Executive Officer, and he is a quantity surveyor. Mona Gertrude Efa, Deputy Chief Executive Officer, a lawyer. And Emmanuel Afrem Enim, Deputy Chief Executive Officer, he's the administrator. Now, for the Middle Belt Development Authority, the Chief Executive Officer is Joe Dankwa. Joyce Opoku-Boateng is Deputy Chief Executive Officer. Vincent Frimpong Menu is also a Deputy Chief Executive Officer. And Alexander Feka is Deputy Chief Executive Officer. For the Northern Development Authority, the Chief Executive Officer is Alhaji Abdul Majid Harun. Lariba Zuwera Abudu is Deputy Chief Executive Officer. Osmani Aludiba Ayuba is Deputy Chief Executive Officer. And Stephen Engman is also a Deputy Chief Executive Officer. The appointees are to act pending the receipt of the constitutionally required advice of the governing boards of the development authorities given in consultation with the Public Services Commission. The three development authorities are tasked with the implementation of the Infrastructure for Poverty Eradication Program, IPEP, the program which will ensure the disbursement of the equivalent of $1 million per constituency per year in fulfillment of President Akufo-Addo's 2016 campaign pledge. And that is signed by Eugene Ahin, Director of Communications at the Presidency. Let's move on to other stories. And one of the community day senior high schools built at Dintra Chechire in the Central Region by the erstwhile National Democratic Congress government is yet to be utilized despite completion of work. Authorities say new admission for government-free senior high school implementation was completed before the structure was handed over to the Upper Dintra East Municipal Assembly. Meanwhile, chiefs in the area want the facility converted into a college of education to train teachers to address the perennial staff shortage. Nasenso Mensah traveled to the Central Region and filed this report.
The chiefs argue the absence of a teacher training institution in the area contributes to decline in standards. Nana Ntiamoje Kum II is contingent of Dintra Chechewere.
I will thank the previous administration, that is Mahama government or the Mahama administration, for bringing here that E-block secondary school complex that he instituted in this country or in this town. We have one here, but we prayed through you multimedia that if it will augur well with us, that secondary school there, we prayed with this new administration that he should change that secondary school that is there for us so that it turn to training college or any tertiary institution for us or any tertiary institution at all that way. So we are appealing to the government to come to our aid and turn that secondary school to teacher training college for us.
So this is one of the over 200 community day senior high schools built by the former government. This school here in Chechewere has seen no student posted here during the 2017-2018 academic year. One may call it a white elephant as weeds take over the school. Municipal Director of Education, Joseph Fillmore Nsiasare, confirms reasons no admission was made for the current academic year.
For now, it is not in use because there are other things to be put in place before we can admit students or it can be put to good use. There's no hostel. The students coming from far places, from other districts, will not get accommodation. And I don't think any parent can come and hire a room for the ward and then feed the person also. And then he will prefer sending the child to a boarding school. So the elders in the community, the assembly, the opinion leaders, the chiefs are also thinking of other alternative use. They think instead of the secondary school, they want to get a college of education, talking about teacher training college in that area. After the building, it will fit for it.
Nana Asenso Mensah, reporting for Joy News.
Now, medical and legal practitioners are calling for strict legislation to regulate sperm sale and donation, as well as surrogacy. There are concerns about ethical breaches and exploitation as sperms become a major commodity at fast-emerging fertility clinics, mostly without regulatory framework. Speakers at the first ever Law, Medicine and Ethics Conference in Ghana want serious attention given to the issue. Oheminteria sat through some of the presentation and filed this report.
Advocates from the Ministry of Health, Ghana Medical Association and the Attorney General and Ministry of Justice, among others, are in attendance. Ekuyasewa Ejapon of the KNUST Law Faculty highlighted a flourishing sperm trade in Ghana in the absence of regulations.
The only problem with these fertility clinics rising up in this country is that there are no laws or special legislations to regulate this area. Sadly, there are a lot of problems associated with this absence of legislation. That there is the exploitation and commercialization of one of the most valued and personal aspects of our society. Procreation is something that the Ghanaian society does not take lightly, and so if we are commercializing this aspect, then it means that eventually, if we don't regulate or control this, there is going to be the downplay of this kind of value that we place on procreation, such that children would be seen as commodities that can be sold and then bought. And then also, it gives people or unscrupulous personalities the chance to abuse helpless people, especially women who are desperate of giving birth.
Issues about how some women are lured as surrogates to carry pregnancy for would-be couples for financial gain also receive attention.
Well, we've been speaking to some members of the public on this subject. We asked the men if they're willing to donate or sell their sperms. Here are their responses.
I will not sell my sperms just because of money, but maybe if the person is in dire need of it, I mean, why not? Why? I'll just do it. I mean, to help someone, fine, especially when the person is very close to me. When I know the person, and the person, of course, why? I would even sell it. I would give it free.
Never. Never. I won't sell my sperms. Because I must be accountable to my children, and I must know my children that, oh, Amma and Kofi are my children, not knowing like I will sell my sperms to someone whom I don't know, and he or she will be carrying my child.
I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to give that a second thought, because when I sell my sperm, it's more or less like I'm selling my child. And I don't want my child to go and be at somewhere else that I don't know where he or she, how he or she is faring or not. So I'm not going to do that.
Selling the sperm is not going to make that sperm finish in me. After all, it comes day in, day out, and producing sperms is normal. It's like it's as buoyant as the sun around the sea, so it's normal to sell for money.
I don't mind. I am an open person, so if there is a need for it, and I have got my children, or I think I can have children, and someone can't, and the person is also ready to offer me something to, I don't mind. Though it's not something I'll do on any day, but I don't mind if.
Interesting responses. And what about you ladies? Would you buy or accept a sperm donation to fertilize your eggs?
No, I won't buy sperm. No matter what, I won't buy sperm.
Wait?
Yes, I'll wait until God's own appointed time. Yeah, because why should I go and carry somebody's own sperm into my womb? No, I don't think I'll buy that.
I won't do that. I will never do that.
Why not?
I see it to be a sin. Okay, I need a child. I'll continue to wait.
You continue to wait.
Patience is good. Maybe Sarah, in the Bible, she waited. Even if she was in the old age, she waited. Okay, and God gave them a child. So I will not buy sperm.
No, I will not do that, because people are so desperate when they can't have children. They think like that's the end of life. But I don't believe in that. I believe in giving yourself time. Marriage or life is not about having children. So no, I will not. I would rather wait for God's own time. I know that one day, somehow, I'm just going to get pregnant, but I'm not going to buy any man's sperm. No.
Yes, maybe I would buy sperms if it's very critical. Maybe I can't give birth again, so I would need that sperm for. Maybe I barely need a child. Yes.
So, yes, no, maybe so. Maybe Gary Al Smith knows. He has an opinion on that. He's coming up with sports, which is up next.
In answer to Araba, yes, I would.